Hey guys, welcome to 3 Mississippi. I'm Sid, and I know a lot of you follow a lot of people in the family group or in this genre of farming, homesteading, self-sufficiency, all of that. And if you've been following, you know that we had our big freedom, sip of freedom, because we hosted it here in Mississippi this year, this last weekend. And unfortunately, not only did we have some injuries that weekend, we lost Lillian, which is Country Road Cure's dog. Rox and Ant live in Arkansas and with their son Wyatt, and they have a wonderful channel, and if you guys haven't checked it out, you should. But they brought their little Chihuahua mix with them down here for the weekend, and they take her with them everywhere. I've met Lillian a couple of times now at different meetups and things because Rox always has Lillian with her. So I'm going to give you guys an update on what happened and where we are now with Lillian. First of all, I want to ask everyone to have some grace. We have all, each one of us at some point, lost a pet or had an incident happen that we weren't expecting, that we look back on and go, man, I wish I would have done this differently. We have all done that. It happens. These things happen. It is not Rox's fault. It is nobody's fault. These things just happen. So leaving comments on their channel, leaving comments on my channel, that some of which have been pretty nasty. Some of y'all need Jesus, that's all I'm gonna say, is not necessary, nor is it needed. Trust me, Rox has kicked herself enough about the fact that this even happened. Okay, so nobody was there that is leaving these comments. They didn't see what happened. They don't know what the situation was. So leaving nasty comments about Rox or how she's handled the situation when you are not in her shoes is just not necessary. So the quick rundown of what happened is that on Saturday, day 2 of Freedom Weekend, we had some time allotted for a shooting range that we had set up on a very different section of our property. It's across a creek and on another side. We call it Silver because it's a little sliver, narrow sliver of pasture that's like somewhere between 6 and 8 acres, I'm not sure. And that's where we made a shooting range for some people to go and shoot. And unfortunately, when that started, Rox was not right by Lillian, and Lillian got spooked and ran. They were over by the water slide, and I think the combination of the kids and everything, I don't know, but anyway, she got spooked and she took off. We started looking for her.
Where are you going? Look for that dog. Okay.
Look for that dog. Go look for that dog.
That dog's gonna hunt.
Yeah.
The guys went out in the side-by-sides and on the four-wheelers and drove up and down the road, and we checked all over the property, the neighbor's pasture. We looked under, over, through, everywhere. Rox did say that she thought she saw her one time real quick by the shop, but then she lost sight of her again, and we never laid eyes on her again that day. They continued searching all over our property, all over our neighbor's property, but they were not able to lay eyes on Lillian again that day. Roxanne was visibly distraught. She was very, very upset. Wyatt was visibly upset. I'm sure Anthony was upset, but he's a guy, so it's harder to tell sometimes when you're looking at a guy if they're, you know, as distraught. But Roxanne was visibly upset. And of course, we did our fireworks that night for Sip of Freedom Weekend, and you know, we were kind of like, we hope we find her before the fireworks go off because that's going to scare her again. Unfortunately, we were not able to, and Roxanne got very upset during the fireworks. She talked about this on a video on her channel the other day when Lillian was still missing. It's a lot when you lose a pet and you don't know where they are. You're in an unfamiliar area. She was very overwhelmed, and rightly so. I get it. Like, she was very upset. She was so upset, and Wyatt was so upset, they decided to that night, that in the morning, first thing, that they would leave and head home. They assumed that, you know, and honestly, the odds were against Lillian. They assumed that, you know, she was gone. She was coyote dinner that night or something, because the odds were not in her favor out here. We're in a very, there are houses out here and stuff, but we're in a very wooded area. It's rural. You know, we're a little ways from town, and we do have a thoroughfare, a highway that runs through, a little 2-lane highway that doesn't get super, super busy, but it, you know, still gets quite a few cars on it. And she just assumed that nobody would see her again. So they left, and Sunday morning they were gone. So I never got to say goodbye to them or anything, because they were just so upset they had to leave. I understand. I would have been the same way. I would have been very upset. I don't know how I would have reacted, because I've never been in that situation, but I understand her. Just basically, she was mourning her already. She figured she was dead. So she was just upset and wanted to get home. And I can understand that, because in her mind, there was no way Lillian survived out here, and there was no way we were going to ever find her. I had on Saturday afternoon put out a bulletin to my neighborhood watch group. We have like a Facebook chat message group of everybody that lives in about a 4-mile radius is kind of our neighborhood, if you will. And so I blasted her picture, her description, and said, you know, if you see her, let me know. And sure enough, Sunday night, one of my neighbors called me and said, I just saw her on one of the other county roads, which is a good 2.5 miles from here. Still in our neighborhood, but 2.5 miles away. And my friend Jen was still here, and Tara and Jason from White Rock Homestead were still here. So we hopped in 2 trucks and we took off for that county road, and we drove up and down it real slow. And I said to the girls, you know, maybe I should play one of her videos where she's talking. And so I found a Daily Vibe, which is their side channel, just like I have Sippin' and Spillin'. They have the Daily Vibe with Rox and Ant. And I found one that just had Roxanne, and she happened to, a few minutes into it, call Lillian and say, Lillian, what are you doing, Lillian? Is that a grasshopper? Hi, Lily. And so we blasted that in my girlfriend's truck through the Bluetooth on the speakers as loud as we could handle it, just going up and down, hoping she would hear the familiar voice and maybe come near. Unfortunately, we didn't. You know, Jason thought he saw her, and he went back behind some stuff, and it turns out that was just a cat. So we're cruising up and down this county road, and I said to Jen, who was driving, I said, I think the 3 of us should just make a right up here onto the highway. Let's just cruise up and down the highway for a minute. My gut is telling me to go down the highway. So we did, and as we're cruising up and down the highway, this gentleman kind of slows down next to us, because we were driving slowly, clearly looking for something. And he said, y'all looking for a small dog? And we said, yes, sir. And he said, right back there. So we went where he said, and we got out of the truck, and we turn around, and Tara sees her. And Tara crouches down, and she's like, Lillian. And she kind of looked at her for a second, and then she turned and bolted down the middle of the highway into oncoming traffic. There was a truck coming. And I thought, not on my watch. Number one, he may not see this little dog running down the middle of the highway, because it was that weird time of night. It was like probably about 6 o'clock at that point. So the sun was going to be like right in his eyes. And it was just, you know, he may not see this little tiny dog running down the road, but he's going to see my butt running down the road. So I took off running, and I probably ran for, I don't know. I think I ran for like 3/4 mile, something like that. I take off running down the highway, number one, to make sure that the truck sees me running and slows down and doesn't hit her. And number two, to see if she veered off in any direction, that I'd be able to see at least where she went. So she made a sharp turn off into a soybean field and into the thicket, and we lost her. Jason crawled through the thicket, and Mike came around the other side, and his knee was real bad that day, and hadn't been able to, get her to see her again. We tried everything. We called Roxanne, had her call her. We shook little rocks in a cup because it would sound like kibble. Didn't spot her again. The next day, I get a phone call at 6:30 in the morning. She's down here at one of my other neighbors. Again, probably about 3 miles away. Okay. Happened to be the neighbor that's the chief of police. So we go down there, or I go down there. And at this point, everybody's, left. This was 6:30 in the morning on Monday. Go down there. We drive around looking. They had to leave, and I walked around calling her, then sat quiet and waited for a while. There was a Rottweiler that had an outdoor pen there with food and water, and the neighbor that lives there had seen her in the pen. So as far as we know, she had food and water on Monday. So keep that in mind. Couldn't find her. Got another call maybe an hour or two later. We see her over here now, and that was like 2 miles away from where she had just been. So I trucked down there and again met a few of my neighbors down there, and we went up and down looking, calling, couldn't find her. I was getting a little anxious. Some people were saying, some of the neighbors were like, well, we could put out live traps, but the chances of you catching her and not just a stray cat or a possum or a skunk, and then she's also now at this point is in like a 3-mile radius. And some of which is very heavily wooded, and we were under a heat advisory. So you need to check that trap like every hour. So the struggle was real on that choice to not put the traps out. We decided it was not going to be the best idea to put any traps out because of the wide area she was in, and because of the fact that there's so much wildlife out here. That the chances of her being the one to get in there were slim. Tuesday, I went looking again. No sightings. Nobody saw her that morning. Everybody in my neighborhood group chat was like, has anybody seen her? Has there been a sighting today? And everybody was like, nope, nothing today. And people were like, oh shoot, something must have happened last night. Because we've been seeing her consistently in the morning and in the evening, even if we didn't see her in the afternoon. Consistently. It'd been a couple days, but still, we had a schedule to keep. So all day Tuesday goes by. Mike even went out in the afternoon for like 2 hours after his doctor's appointment for his knee, which is doing much better, by the way, and searched for her on his own. But nothing. He had talked to every neighbor that he could find out there on that end, and nobody had seen her that day. So Tuesday night, about 9:30, my neighborhood group chat pops up, and it says, I just pulled her off the highway. And there was some confusion because with that wording, several of us reading it were like, is she dead? Like, did she get hit by a car? Is she injured? What's the status? And so I called her because we were all confused, and she had her hands full, so she didn't respond right away. So I called her and I was like, is she alive? Is she still with us? And she's like, yeah, but she's in rough shape. So I said, okay. I said, headed that way now. She's like, I'll leave the carport lights on because it's dark down that road and you're not finding where she is unless the lights are on. So she's like, I'll leave the carport lights on. So Mike and I hopped in the truck, headed down there, and she was very listless, clearly dehydrated. Her eyes were swollen yet sunken in at the same time. Initially I just assumed from the dehydration alone. And she was very listless, wouldn't really lift up her head, extremely weak. She had a couple little scratches on her that appeared to be from like running through the thicket and the brambles, but nothing like heavily bleeding. We felt her all up and down, no broken bones. And she had a little scratch on her face, but nothing major. I called Rox right away once I had her in my possession and could kind of assess. I said, look, we've got her. We're headed back to our house. I've got a hydration pack for subcutaneous hydration that I had left over from when we had our livestock guardian dog go through her issue. She had a congenital kidney issue, and she didn't make it, unfortunately, but I still had a leftover hydration pack from that. So I was like, let's do it. Let's hook her up. So, so I hooked her up to that. Oh, it's there, Mama.
I'm filming you, by the way.
Oh, okay. There we go, baby. So guys, we've got Lillian. Today is Tuesday night. It's about 9:30 that we got the phone call that our neighbor had found her. So she was on the side of the highway. She spotted her. She was able to scoop her up. She's got a couple scrapes. Nothing appears to be broken. She seems dehydrated. We had a heat advisory today, so she was probably hunkered down somewhere in the woods and didn't drink any water, would be my guess. So I happen to have this bag left from when our livestock guardian dog Nash was having so many problems. And so I thought this is the fastest way to rehydrate her. So I'm gonna let this run for a little while and pull it, and then kind of check on her and see how she's doing. I will call the vet in the morning to see about getting her in. Her breathing's real steady, which is good. Like I said, she's got a couple scrapes, cuts, nothing major that we can see on the outside. So we're gonna see how she does tonight. It's gonna be a long night for me because I'm probably gonna wanna stay up with her and make sure she makes it through the night. And then I'll call the vet in the morning. Oh, are we coming awake? Are we coming awake a little? Yeah, that IV is doing the trick, huh, Mama? Huh, Lillian?
That's outstanding.
Yeah. Good job, Mama. Gave her 2 little camel humps that night, and I was watching her, and I thought, you know, I need to just hold her. I need to like put her up against me and hold her tonight, and I'm gonna stay up with her. I really was not sure if she would make it through the night, because she was very, very weak and very, very dehydrated. So I thought, well, the best thing to do is just sleep holding her. And she was a little cold as well. Her temperature was, I didn't take her temperature, but you could tell her body temperature was a little bit on the low side. And I thought, you know, the best thing to do would be what I would do with a baby, is just regulate her breathing, her heartbeat, her temperature, and just hold her all night. That way I can keep an eye on her. If she needs anything or has any kind of episode during the night, it'll wake me up if I doze off, which I basically just kind of like you do with a newborn, I guess, you know, in every little movement, you're like, you know. And so we did that the first night. The hydration pack helped a lot. She made it through the first night. She woke up at about 3 a.m. with very little warning, and was able to urinate, which was good. We didn't make it all the way outside, but that's okay. We did laundry. So that was hopeful. That told me that, and her urine was normal. It wasn't dark. It didn't have an odd odor to it. There was nothing. Her kidneys seemed to be working. So that was huge. Still wasn't really opening her eyes. Was a little bit more responsive the next day. I was able to get her into the vet that afternoon. The vet did a series of kind of motor function tests on her, and also said, yeah, she doesn't have heat stroke, or she didn't have heat stroke. Her temperature is normal, but she's dehydrated and she needs food. So, you know, she said, just keep doing what you're doing. She said, I don't have any more hydration packs here at this office. So just keep doing it with an oral syringe. So I was like, okay. So I got some baby food that I had at home, and did water and Pedialyte. Mostly Pedialyte that first day, or second day, I guess, technically. She was taking it okay, but she wouldn't do it on her own. She wouldn't eat and drink on her own. at all. I would, every time it was time to do it again, I would offer it to her in a bowl and she would just kind of slump over. The doctor thinks that she did definitely have some kind of thump on the head, some kind of head injury that's giving her some neurological issues that may be short term, maybe long term. She has improved since Tuesday, but she's definitely not 100%. She is a fighter. Yesterday on Wednesday after the vet did give her some prednisone to help with any swelling that she may have in her brain as well. So she's had several doses of that now and seems to be, could be that it's helping, hard to say without an MRI to know exactly what's going on in, you know, as far as any head injury goes or really what the injury was. The vet suspected that it wasn't so much from a vehicle, but more from she was running and like maybe turned her head and didn't see a tree in front of her or didn't see, like she smacked into something like going full speed. That's what she thinks. That was the vet's best guess. Just because there was no visible like cut or like tear or like worse physical injury, that's probably likely what happened. So now we're at the point where, you know, I've been keeping her calm and quiet. I've been taking her outside to go potty every so often, and she wasn't walking at all at first. Now she's at the point where she's walking much better today. And this morning she ate a little bit of kibble on her own. That was a huge milestone. She did eat a little bit of kibble on her own, so that was amazing. She still will not drink any water or liquid on her own. I'm still having to do the oral syringe very, very frequently to keep her hydrated. She is urinating on a regular basis and it's healthy. She has not had a bowel movement yet, not to be gross, but you know, it's medical stuff that you look for when somebody's sick, you know, and when they're recovering, all these milestones that you have to check. She also has not eaten that much yet to really create that. So I'm not super worried about that yet, but she did go through some time here where she's had difficulty controlling her bladder and has relieved herself in her sleep. She is having problems with her back end. Well, she'll kind of fall a little bit and then tilt over to her side and kind of plop down. She will only go to the right. She will go, like when you take her outside to go potty, she just basically trots in a circle, which she's trotting now, which is improvement. Like she's moving, like she's walking better. But she also, the vet is concerned about her vision, that she may have lost either some or all of it. Today she did open her eyes, so she is like alert in that sense, and she is responding to sounds. But she does seem to have problems seeing, like when she's outside walking and doing her circles, she will literally walk right into your leg. It's like she doesn't see it. So she's definitely got some motor response issues happening right now. She's having trouble with her coordination. It's improved, but it's not better. And the vet said that there's a chance that she will plateau at any point along this journey and not get any better, or there's a chance that she could recover 100% and be totally normal over a period of time. We just don't know. I did talk to the vet. I said, look, you know, her owner's in Arkansas. When is she cleared for travel? Like, what are her milestones she needs to hit for that, basically? And she was like, oh yeah, definitely I don't want her traveling now. Like, that would kill her. Like, potentially that could kill her, because it's a 6.5-hour drive. So she's not ready for that. Basically, she needs to be eating and drinking on her own for that trip. Today, as I'm filming this, it is Thursday. It's 4th of July. She did eat a little bit of kibble this morning, but she will not drink on her own yet, which that could be a problem. So, and she's fighting me a little bit on the oral syringe for the liquid. So we're keeping an eye on that, but we're hopeful. She's made a lot of progress in a short period of time. The fact that her eyes are open now, the fact that she's walking better. She does today seem to have a little bit better control over her bladder. That's good. she's just very lethargic. The minute that you pick her up, she just is kind of limp, and then when you put her back down, she just kind of melts into the floor. She just doesn't have any get up and go yet. She's exhausted. She's been through it. Homegirl been through it. Homegirl been through it. So the main thing has just been like, I hold her a lot. I take her outside about once an hour to once every 2 hours to try to go potty, and to get some fresh air and just check her status kind of her movements and see how she's doing. And then in between all of that, I'm giving her oral syringes of liquid, water, Pedialyte, and then I offer her kibble. And she's eaten, I feel so far today, she's eaten enough for her size of a dog, like a normal amount. It's going to be potentially a long road for her. Like, she may always be a little bit special needs now. She might need to be carried places more. She might be blind. She might need to be confined to a certain area. She might need a little extra attention. And I've told all of this to Roxanne. I asked them before I made this video if they minded if I gave everybody an update, because I'm Nurse Sid here with boots on the ground with her, and everybody has been really asking for an update. So I wanted to let you know that she is getting better. It's just going to be a slow road, and she will not be traveling home until she has hit those milestones of eating and drinking on her own. We need to get her back into that normal rhythm before we disrupt her, if that makes sense. I know a lot of people have, said, well, Roxanne should have just come and gotten her right away, or Roxanne should have been there looking, or Roxanne should have done this or whatever. Again, I call for grace. My neighbors and myself know this area. Roxanne does not. Her out here calling wouldn't have done any good. She was bolting from everybody. She bolted from Roxanne in the first place when she got startled, and she was already startled. There's no saying that she would have just come straight back to Roxanne because she's familiar with her and she's her owner. Putting that on her is not fair, number one. Number two, she needed a calm, steady environment to recoup in, and having Roxanne jump in the car to get down here to grab her and take her back likely could have killed Lillian. Honestly, could have been the worst thing that we could have done for her. This is what we should be doing. I'm going to nurse her back to a certain point of health, and then to where she's good enough to be traveling, and then she's back with Roxanne and Anthony and Wyatt. They're relieved that obviously that we found her, and shocked that we found her. I mean, I think really in their hearts, they were just grieving her. I think that, they were trying to hold out hope, but I think they really thought oh yeah, sure, you're really going to find her. It's like a needle in a haystack out here. And considering that she was in a 4-mile radius, it really was. You're looking for a dog the size of a squirrel in a 4-mile radius that's heavily wooded. Good luck. We should not have found her. And if it wasn't for my neighbors, we would not have found her. They looked and searched tirelessly. They are amazing people. We put our fair share of searching in as well, but we're not able to get her. And 100% it was my neighbor that found her on the side of the road that scooped her up and called me. So they're the real heroes when it comes to that, because they're the ones that got her home. Or I should say got her to safety. She's not home yet. She's at a home. I'm very invested in Lillian now because, as you can imagine, I've been sleeping with her every night to make sure that she makes it through the night. She has had 1 or 2 small seizures, which the vet also said is a possibility, and they've been very, very minor. But I've been able to get her through it because I'm with her pretty much all the time right now, round the clock care. We offer here at 3 Mississippi when an animal is injured. And I don't mind doing it. Has it been a little bit stressful? Has it been a little bit of a lot? Yes, not gonna lie. I am exhausted. I will sleep real good when this is over. But would I do it again? In a heartbeat. If it was one of my animals, I would do it. If we were in reverse situations and Rox had one of my animals that was sick, she would do the same thing. It's what family does, and it's what humans do for other humans, and it's what we do. It was just simply my turn. So that's all it is. But I am very, very invested in Lillian. Somebody had said something about me being her dog mother, like a godmother, but her dog mother. And I'm like, oh, I like that. I'm like her fairy dog mother. I'm like taking care of her. And so we do have a special little bond now, I think, because, you know, I have been literally hand feeding her. So I'm very invested in this outcome. I want to see that smile back on Wyatt's face when he sees that we've got Lillian back. You know, I want Rox to have her little buddy back. I don't know if she's going to be the same following her around the garden anymore. I think her life is going to change, if not permanently, at least temporarily, you know, until she's as rehabilitated as we can get her, which may be 100%, but it may not be. So we'll see. The plan is for right now, if she continues to improve and I can get her to the point where she's drinking and eating on her own, the plan is to Saturday, we're going to drive up to Tim's place in Tennessee, Tim from Ridge Life, and he's going to then get her to Roxanne from there. He frequents there often because, you know, Timifer, Jen, his girlfriend, lives in Arkansas, so he's over there all the time. So he's going to get her there. You know, we want to pass her off to the least amount of people. We want to keep her as comfortable as possible. I want her best chance of thriving, you know, as we all do. So I've just been doing my best to take care of her and get her through this and get her to the whatever her next hurdle is that she needs to. Like, we got her up and walking, and we got her going to the bathroom, and we got her, you know, rehydrated, and we got her eating a little bit now. So the next one is we've got to get her drinking on her own, and then she should be good. So I'm hopeful that we can get her back to Rox this weekend. I'm going to think positively that she's going to start drinking on her own. That's the next step. It's a little bit of a head scratcher that I did get her to eat, but I can't get her to drink. It's almost like, dare I say, you know, and not that I think she has rabies at all, but you know how when you have rabies, they have that hydration phobia or water phobia. She's almost like, when I try to like put my finger in the water and put it in her mouth and then show her that's the bowl and it's got water, she's not all about it. She just kind of leans back. So no interest in that. But I've been keeping her hydrated, so I'm trying to go a little bit longer stretch and then offer her the water again before I break down and give her the syringe. So but that is the update, guys. She is gonna have a long road. She's still struggling a bit, but she is getting better, and I pray that she will continue to get better. Like I said, she may never be 100%, but I do hope that she will continue to improve. So here she is. You can see she's very noodly, but she does have her eyes open now, which is a huge improvement. They're not open all the way. She's kind of doing a Clint Eastwood most of the time. She's got that dirty, hairy squint, but they're open. If you had seen them 2 days ago, you'd be impressed right now. But she is a love, and we're just doing the best we can, huh, Mama? Yeah, she's getting there. She's getting better. She just needs a lot of rest, and I think that she's gonna not only make it, but I think she's gonna get used to her new normal, if that is what is gonna happen. If this is, you know, going to be how she is now, you know, where she has a little trouble seeing, she has a little trouble walking, her motor skills aren't all there. She's the opposite of NASCAR, walking to the right in circles. You know, it is what it is. Roxanne's not going to love her any less, and she's going to take care of her, and she's going to do what needs done. I've been honored and happy to be able to take care of her and get her through this hurdle. So we're just going to keep doing that until she hits these milestones of both eating and drinking on her own, because I feel like that's important before we try to upset the apple cart again and throw her in the car. So she's here, she's with us. She's just very limp noodly, but she's doing all right. She's just kind of just a little limp. She's just real tired. Like if I honestly, like if I just, she'd go right to sleep, like instantly. She'll just kind of flop over. So, but she's doing good, guys. I just wanted to give you that update. She's with us. She's here. You know, again, I call for having some grace for the family from Crunchyroll Cure, Rox and Ant and Wyatt. You know, they really thought she was gone, and we didn't think we were going to get her back, but we did. We did, huh? So we're going to get there. We're going to do better, huh, mamas? Yeah, we're going to do better. So she's getting there. She's doing better. It's a slow road, but we're going to get her there. And she's a sweetheart. And I'm going to miss her when she's gone. Yeah, I'm going to miss her when she's gone, when she goes back to her mama. So that's the update, guys. I appreciate you. I appreciate you caring and being concerned about Lillian's journey to recovery here. We're going to get her squared away. As always, stay blessed. And remember, safety's off. Huh? Are you so tired? You ready to go back to bed? Okay. I know.